Hi, I'm Ron,
And I'm Ella.
and Ella has a question.
My question would be, how do we avoid an argument with people that think differently than we do?
Okay. This might be an important thing to know. How do we avoid an argument with people that think differently than we think, which is pretty much everybody else, really, right?
Yeah.
But avoiding the argument's the big piece. And we've just been through some turbulent political things, and so this might be a good skill to have, or at least some tips. Let me kind of just talk to you a little bit about background for a second, and then we'll go through some models, which I think will help us to understand it. One of the things that I do as a consultant is I get people to agreement. And getting people who have different points of view and different criteria and different thought processes to agree is a very tough thing, especially if what we're wanting them to agree on is very important and heartfelt and high intensity and high importance. So this is a much longer conversation, but I want to basically do something a little bit more lighter and playful and give you 3 or 4 tips that can help you with these conversations that you might be having over Thanksgiving dinner or at a pub or at a restaurant or just in casual situations. Maybe that'll help you give enough nuggets in there. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
I have something here. What is this?
Grapefruit.
Okay, so she says it's a grapefruit. I'm not so sure. So
No, I'm pretty sure it's a grapefruit.
You're pretty sure? Okay, all right. So we have 2 perfectly reasonable people looking at the same thing, don't we? So what color is this grapefruit?
Yellow?
I don't think so. It's pink.
It's yellow.
No, it's pink.
No, it is yellow.
I'm sure it's pink.
That's strange.
See, there's a pink spot right there.
Oh. Yeah, you're right.
So, no, don't give in so easy though. Don't give in so easy.
No, but over here it's yellow.
It's over, see? Now, I'm using this for a very real reason, because this is a very simple topic. This is a very simple fruit. This is a grapefruit, and Ella's saying it's yellow, and I'm saying it's pink. Now, do you like grapefruits?
I do.
I love grapefruits. Is this a good grapefruit?
Almost.
Almost? Okay. I don't think this grapefruit has very long to live. It's got brown spots on it. But she can't see that from her perspective. I'm holding it in a particular way for a particular reason. So, and this is a really great thing because Ella gave us this grapefruit, so she knows it's good. But I'm playing with you in a way to really illustrate the point. So, we agree that it's a grapefruit. We do not agree on the color. We both agree that we like it. She likes it. I love it. I love grapefruits. I didn't ask her yet, but I'm hallucinating that she thinks this grapefruit has a wonderful future, and I think it's going bad quickly because it's got a brown spot on it. And I'm not saying either of us is right or wrong. I'm just saying we have 2 different perspectives. Okay? Now, that's a very interesting topic just to have. We're having a shared experience of this reality, but we don't agree on what this reality is. At some levels we agree, and other levels we don't. At least in color. Okay? Let's have fun? Let's put that to use. Let's put that to use in something that's maybe a bit more involved. So, happens all the time in our experience. There's a situation or condition, and we have 1 or more people, 2 or more people perceiving of it. This gets exponentially more complex if we have a group discussion about something. If I had a 3rd person, they might have said it was yet a different color, right? And then there's all those strange colors, mauve, and I don't even know what that is. So there's the condition or the perception, or what some people will call reality, and there is the people involved perceiving that situation or that condition. each person is perceiving that shared reality through their own filters, through their assumptions, their expectations, and beliefs. That's their perceptual filters. Ella's perceptual filters and my perceptual filters are different. She likes grapefruits. I love grapefruit. That's one difference, right? Her expectation is that was good. My expectation is it's going bad. So we have different filters we're seeing that poor little grapefruit through. We also have a thought process behind, which is involved in this conversation. And so you can imagine, and so now the question is, how can we have a productive interchange about this grapefruit? Or about something more important to you, like who should get what for Christmas, or like who should have won the election, or like where should we go on vacation? Any one of a number of topics where we have disagreement. How do we get to a common understanding of what we think is an obvious shared situation? You intrigued?
I am.
Has this ever happened to you where you've had people disagree?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay? And like violently disagree, or with enthusiasm, I won't say violently, but with passion. They're disagreeing with passion.
I am one of them.
You're one of them. Right. Me too. Because when something's important to us and it has high significance, or we believe that it has high significance, then we will argue with passion and with energy. Okay? So I want to give you some tools to help you have a productive discussion about things that you may disagree with others on. Okay? Would that be of interest? All right. These are not an exhaustive list. These are simply a few first-order tools. So the first thing is, if you're going into a conversation with someone and you know that you're going to disagree, wouldn't it be wiser to just avoid the conversation entirely? That's a choice. Or to talk about something you agree, you have greater alignment on, right? So if you're going to Thanksgiving dinner, you probably shouldn't talk about something you know is going to be contentious, but you probably could discuss much more normal things that are less important to people, where you could get to an understanding.
Yes, but so what I feel is that I have to talk about that.
Okay. So when you don't have the choice of avoiding the conversation or switching to a different topic, then I'm going to lead you through some tools to help you frame it. So the first thing is to have an outcome for having the conversation. So if we're going to talk about politics, or we're going to talk about this grapefruit, why are we having this conversation? Most people get into conversations and they don't have an understanding of why they're having the conversation. So let me give you a menu of things to pick from. So some people want to have the conversation because they simply want to express themselves. In fact, some people want to have conversations about difficult topics because they're worried about the topic. And they want to tell people that they're worried about it. And they want to be heard. And they don't know what else to do, so they want to talk about it. In fact, there's a specific structure to a worry strategy, and it's talking and thinking about something without taking action for the sake of being busy. That's the short form, but anyway. So if you're in a conversation and the goal is, and the other person's goal is to express themselves, you could simply listen quietly and let them express themselves and be done. You don't have to agree with them. You could just spend the time and listen. Believe it or not, if you take customer service training, 90% of what every customer wants is to be heard and listened to. So what's the outcome for the conversation? The first order of business most people have is to express themselves, generally because they're concerned or worried. They might have an outcome to actually be listened to. Some people just want to express themselves, whether you're listening or not. Some people want to be listened to when they express themselves. Some people actually want to be heard, which is different than being listened to. Some people want to be understood. They want people to generally understand their thought process, their criteria about why something's happening or why it isn't happening, or to get insight. Some people want to know that the other person thinks the same as they do in some way. They have shared values. It's really important to me that we treat people respectfully. Go. It's really important to me that we treat people respectfully. It's not important to me, I'm just going to cut you off. So some people are in a conversation because they want to affirm that we have the same values, which is higher in the totem pole, harder to achieve. Some people actually want to have a shared goal. The reason we're having this conversation, we want to actually agree on the goal. We could also have alignment about all of the above and the action we're going to take. That's true agreement. Now let me just say, I have run many business conversations where people get together and their goal is agreement. And they don't even get to first base in terms of being heard, because they have such disparate points of view, they can't even hear each other. So when I work with the leadership teams, typically in business, I'll ask them, what's the goal? They say, well, we want to get to agreement on this. And I go, no, you don't. And they go, yes, I do. And they go, no, you don't. You just want to come in and tell everybody what to do. That's not agreement. That's marching orders. If you really want to get to agreement, you actually have to get through all these pieces. It's not going to happen in a half-hour meeting, not unless you've been working together for years and years and years. So what I would encourage you to do is, if you're going to have a conversation that's going to be difficult with one or more people and the topic is contentious, figure out what your goal is. Maybe your goal is just to let other people express themselves, you express yourself, that's all. Not agreement. Not even shared values or shared goals. Maybe being heard. The most useful of these that I suggest people, or the most aggressive goal to go for, is to be understood. I suggest don't go any higher than to be understood. Don't go for agreement. And believe me, I have a lot of steps to help people build a bridge to get to agreement if that's what they really want. Just go for understanding. To express yourself, let the other people express themselves, to be listened to, to be truly heard, and to understand each other. Not to agree with each other. And to understand a future goal, not a current goal. Now, let me just back up a second. I titled this topic, Present Perceptions and Future Fears. We did a little demonstration where Ella and I could not agree on the present state. Now, we could talk about what grapefruits will look like in future. A grapefruit coming from a great tree, they're all nice and ripe, and they're just perfect for picking and eating. We could agree what that looks like on. Could we not?
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's an imagined thing. It's a future thing. But when we're looking at it through our perception in reality, it's very difficult to get to agreement. So what I suggest you do, if you're going to have a conversation about a difficult subject, is talk about the subject in terms of the future goal that you'd like to see realized. Not the difficulty of the present situation. It's very hard to get agreement on the present difficulty. It's much easier to simply be understood about the future goal that we would all like to have. Get people to articulate it, get people to talk about it. So we can talk about the topic, we talk about it in terms of the future goal. Establish a time frame. Avoid the present state. Talk about possible things that we could want to have in future. That'll keep you out of trouble. A third tool you can use in these conversations is to realize that I am not my perspective. A perspective is something that I have. It's not something that I am. So if my perspective is we made the wrong choice for president, or my perspective is that Macy's is going out of business at Christmas, I've got to get over there now, or something, that's not who I am. That's a point of view or a perspective that I have. So rather than say, this is true, the election was a disaster, we elected the right person, we elected the wrong person, that's not the right way to say that. It says, it's my perspective that we're working towards this kind of a goal. And we have different perceptions about the current situation, but my perspective is this, and my perspective is just my perspective. It's not who I am. Make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So that also has the effect of lowering our attachment to our own point of view, because I can have multiple points of view. In fact, I could talk with you about something and you could say something, she's right. She's got a really good point. I can change my point of view. I could have 2 or 3 points of view on the same thing. Right? Or perspectives is actually maybe a better way to say it. And so, if I'm just wanting to have a conversation with other people to be understood, and I want to understand their perspective, it may be something that helps me gain insight into my perspective, offer a different perspective, much easier, and it's not who I am, it's a perspective that I'm choosing to have at this point in time. Now, so let's pause for a second and have you say something. Let me see, pick a topic here. Let's use traffic.
Traffic, okay.
So we live in a great area, which means it's prosperous, which means there's a lot of traffic, much of the time. People have been complaining, so I'll just pick that as a subject. So if you say, traffic is horrible.
Traffic is horrible.
Okay. So it's my perspective that traffic is horrible. Say that.
It's my perspective that traffic is horrible.
What does that do? How does that feel?
I feel more calm.
Feel more calm. Yeah. It's my perspective that traffic is horrible. Now I can soften this. It's my perspective that traffic is a challenge frequently around here, which softens it a wee bit. But it's now I'm owning it, and I'm not having like traffic is horrible, right? I'm trying to convince you that traffic is horrible, as opposed to saying it's my perspective that traffic is horrible right here. What do you think?
Yeah, it feels like you're more. It feels more empowering.
More empowering.
You feel you are in control, and I think that's why it doesn't bother me so much anymore, right?
It doesn't feel like I'm advocating.
Yeah.
Right. So when we say something at the identity, at the I am level, and assert it, very often to the other person it feels like we're forcing our opinion on them. So a way to not do that or to avoid doing that is to simply say, it's my perspective, or it's my point of view, or it's been my experience that traffic is horrible around here. Some say, well, it is 10 hours of the day, but if you travel at 10 o'clock at night, it's not a problem. So it allows for multiple perspectives on the subject. So the tool is to use that phrase. Rather than assert something as true with power and enthusiasm, which might be interpreted by the other person as ramming your point of view down their throat, just own your perspective and simply say it. And if you say it about a future goal, and the only goal is for the conversation of shared understanding, you'll largely avoid a lot of difficulties and disagreements that get heated. Another tool you can do, this is one I teach in seminars all the time, is when you listen to someone else. Most people have this confusion that if I listen to you, it means I agree with you. Therefore, if you're saying something I don't agree with, I need to cut you off. I can't let you finish your sentence. Right? So now we're in a race. Right? As soon as you say that, no! Right? Okay, so step back, take a breath, and come to the internal awareness that to listen to someone else and to do them the courtesy of hearing their point of view doesn't mean you agree with them. It just means you listen to them, and it may mean that you understand them. And it has the effect of de-escalating the entire conversation. I'll go back to my grapefruit. Ella, this grapefruit is really rotten.
Rotten?
It's rotten.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Now I'm leaning into it because I'm really impassioned, right? But I can say, Ella, this grapefruit is really rotten.
Oh, you think so?
So, well, Ella, it's my perception that this grapefruit days are numbered because it's got some brown on it, but that's just my perception.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
But from your point of view,
Yeah.
looks fine.
I don't see your side of the grapefruit.
Okay, I don't see your side of the grapefruit. Literally. That's wonderful. So if you can own your perspective, your point of view, and represent your point of view authentically without necessarily requiring the other person to agree, and if you allow them to represent their point of view authentically, and let them finish their sentences and know that you don't have to agree with it, you just have to understand it or hear them out, then you have a way to de-escalate conversations.
Yeah, I didn't realize that I was the cause of most of the arguments I got into.
How'd you do it?
Well, exactly how you explained it. I just I didn't make myself understood. I just wanted to prove what I had to, what I was actually thinking about the situation without listening.
So, in another workshop I did for a group of folks, one of my staff members came in one day and said to me, "How do you deal with difficult clients?" And I said, "There's no such thing as a difficult client." She said, "Ooh, I want that." I said, "Well, what are you dealing with?" She said, "I need to get them to agreement." And I said, "Oh," I said, "so do you know how to generate an argument?" And she looked at me really confused. And I said, "Well, if you don't know how to take two perfectly reasonable people and generate an argument on any topic, then you can't be helpful in moving them to agreement."
That's interesting.
Yeah, because you, as a consultant, you have to know if you're moving your client to agreement or away from agreement, which is usually argument. You have to have a way to know that, which means you need to have the skill of generating an argument. And if you have the skill of generating an argument, strange as it may sound, you will know what not to do and what to avoid.
Yeah. And
it also gives a level of precision in helping people come to an understanding. So some of this is from that little workshop. If I force you and I to agree in the here and now, in the present state, if I force us to agree on this, we can't agree. Because we have two different perspectives. You're looking at a different part of this than I am. And it's unless I could go where you are and put on your eyeballs and see through your eyes and your belief filters, we have two different perspectives on it. Now, whether it's problematic or not, or whether it's an asset, depends on how we have our conversation. It can be wonderful that we have two different perspectives on it. In fact, think about that. It can be wonderful when there's multiple perspectives on something. And if I listen to Ella and she listens to me and we don't have to agree, all we have to do is listen with the top goal of understanding. We now have a tremendous asset. And if I don't advocate to you and you don't advocate to me, right, we can share our understanding of the present. We may be able to get to an aligned understanding of a future that we want. It's very difficult, very, 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 very difficult to get to an aligned understanding of the present. So keep your conversations about difficult subjects, about the future goal that you're wanting.
Oh, okay.
Okay? I'll have to tell you another story. One of my friends and consultant friends went into a client situation, and he said, his opening question was, "What seems to be the problem here?" Now think about that. So he had three levels of management in this conversation. The first person said, the first customer, the lowest level manager said, "Well, the problem is we don't have enough time to do all the things we need to do." The second, his boss, said, "No, you're wrong. You don't know how to manage the resources that we have." And his boss, the third level manager, said, "No, you're both wrong. Neither of you know how to manage this situation, and I should replace the management team."
Oh.
And my friend was just horrified because in literally in less than 30 seconds, the conversation with a client went ballistic.
Yeah.
Because it was present state focused, it was problem focused, and they went at each other. And then the conversation got really bad, and he's like, he didn't even know what to do. And all he asked was one question. Now, if he'd had to, and just to finish this example, if he'd said instead, "What is it that we're looking to achieve together through this piece of work?" Right? Future focused, on a goal, right? So it's not the present, it's the future. It's not the problem, it's the solution. What is it we're looking to achieve together through this goal? The conversation would have gone much differently. So my advice is, it's very difficult to have present state conversations when we're going to agree on a perspective, because we all have different perspectives by design. Okay, so once you separate listening from agreeing, and you can listen to people all day long without having to agree, and you can listen to all people all day long without even having to say what you think Some people just want to express themselves and be heard. And you can sit there and be a willing listener if you'd like to, and they'll feel good and you'll feel good, and you don't even have to tell them how you think about the subject, which might generate a disagreement. Lastly, want to keep everybody's ecology intact. Right? So what we don't want to get out of rapport, we certainly don't want to argue, and we don't want to offend each other. So we are not our perspectives. Our perspectives are something that we have. We carry them around and we use them when it's convenient, and hopefully we don't use them when they're inconvenient. They're not who we are. We keep our ecology as people. We keep respectful intact. And the other thing is don't go for agreement. Stop when you reach understanding.
If I don't reach understanding.
Well, or stop even that's the top goal. Maybe just stop when you've been listened to or heard.
Alright, so if I don't feel understood, I just stop the argument.
Yeah. But you could, but at least but in that particular case, did you feel listened to? You might be listened to but not heard, or heard but not understood. If that's all you can get, then be willing to settle for that outcome. I do. People, the biggest challenge that I find people make is they go for agreement. I want you to think the same as me. It ain't going to happen, right? It's much more ecological. I'd be interested in how you think about this, and I'll try to understand, but I'll at least hear you, right? But I may have a totally different point of view. So there are what, 5, 6 tools you can use to help you navigate artfully and in a good way and respectfully around difficult topics in casual conversations. And if you possibly can, and you haven't mastered the skill of this, avoid the conversation or switch topics to something that's much more fun to discuss. And if you really have to get into it, just go no higher than for understanding. And keep it focused on the goals in the future. Realize that our perspectives are not who we are, they're just our perspectives. Realize that when you listen to someone else you don't agree, that'll de-escalate everything. We don't have to cut each other off in case we say the wrong thing. Try to keep everybody's ecology intact and be willing to stop at a good place.
I find this very useful.
Does this help?
Yeah, I'm excited to actually try that, see how it works.
Okay, so just return. Present perceptions and future fears are a trap. And we will not agree on the present, on a present state perspective of a situation that we believe is shared that can never be shared. We have to be clear and use some of the tools to get to a good place.